welcome back to Sincerely Latina podcast, a safe space created for Latinas healing and growth. This podcast focuses on intensity, celebrating ourselves, healing from past traumas, breaking generational curses, cultural expectations, relationships, friendships, family, career changes, self-development, and so much more related to the Latino community. I am your host, Meli. Hey everyone, welcome back to Sincerely Latina's podcast. I'm so happy to have you guys back on here. This week it's been a long week, but it's also been a quick, short week, if that makes sense. I feel like towards the beginning of the week, it felt super long, but then going more towards the end of the week, like the weekend, it just flew by. It went by so quick. But yeah, I pretty much just focused on work this week. I have been redecorating, reorganizing, and just doing a lot of spring cleaning for my room. So I have been putting in a lot more time into fixing my room. I've been painting the walls, like I said, spring cleaning, so cleaning out my closet, throwing away a bunch of stuff that I don't use anymore. You know, like those clothes that we say we're gonna wear it one day, but we never do. Yeah. So I've just been throwing out all of the old and just letting in the new. Basically, I'm creating a new space for myself, something that's more me, like the person I am today. So I'm just throwing everything away that was basically the old Melly, and I'm just letting in some new space for some new things. But yeah. So it's been a productive week so far, but it's been good. I did have therapy this week, and my therapist mentioned something where I should let in my inner child back into my life. So letting in my inner niña back into my life by doing things that I like to do when I was a little kid. And she mentioned that I could get some of my favorite foods that I would get when I was really little. And one thing that I remembered was that I loved getting Happy Meals from McDonald's ever since I was a little kid. So I would get Happy Meals and I would just get so excited. I would always get the chicken nuggets and I would always get like a Barbie doll in the Happy Meal and I would collect them. So that was something that's like super special within my childhood that I still remember to this day. So the other day I was really hungry and I was gonna take my dog to the park, but first I wanted to get a quick bite somewhere and I saw the McDonald's next, like near my house, and I got a Happy Meal. So I'm like, you know what, I'm gonna get myself a Happy Meal. I've been thinking about it and I'm just gonna do it, whatever. And so yeah, I got myself a little Happy Meal, so that was kind of cute. And I did posted it like on my story too on Insta, so I don't know if you guys saw that, but yeah. But yeah, that's pretty much for my week. So in today's episode, I want to talk about toxic households, especially toxic households in the Latino community. So in Latino households. So if you don't know what it's like to be in a toxic household, lucky for you. But just to explain a little bit of what a toxic family or a toxic house looks like. A toxic family behavior can look cruel, it can look critical, controlling, and can show a lack of empathy or respect for someone's boundaries, feelings, or needs. Typically, in a family or in a household, there is at least one or more family member who lies, manipulates, or is always making themselves out to be a victim. And that's not right. So I myself have experienced that in my own household. But it's very common for to experience that in the Latino Hispanic community, especially like in Mexican culture. If you know what I'm talking about, then you know how toxic it can be. It's like in our culture for some reason. Like Mexicans are just very toxic, and it's always been that way. It's just another sign of a generational curse, of a generational trauma. It's a cycle that repeats from time to time. It started from one family member, and then it goes on to like the next one, and then their kids, and then their kids. And it's just that effect that keeps going on, and a cycle that no one is like brave enough to break that cycle. So it's really something to think about, and I kind of want to talk about that for today. So, growing up in a Hispanic household or growing up with a Hispanic family, it can be very toxic and it is very manipulating. Somebody, and most of the time, that somebody is most likely the parent, either the mother, the dad, or both. They try to guilt trip you into making you feel bad or making you feel just worthless. In a Hispanic household, there is no such thing as depression or anxiety. They pretty much do not believe in therapy, and they don't believe in mental health. I grew up not believing in mental health. I grew up not believing that I have feelings and that I'm allowed to have anxiety or I'm allowed to have depression. I didn't even know what anxiety was until my 20s, when I started like researching like what is mental health, what is anxiety, how do you feel anxious. I had no idea what any of that meant. Why? Because I grew up not understanding it, because it just isn't something that Hispanics take part of. It's something that they just don't understand, or they just don't want to understand. It sucks because you feel like you have to hold in all of your emotions and hide it. And we shouldn't have any issues. Like, there's no issues that, especially us first gens Latinas or first gen Latinos, there's no issues that we should be having because we're too young, or we're the kids and we shouldn't have any issues, and we shouldn't like be struggling. And there's also no such thing as saying that like, oh, I'm trying, I'm doing my best, because you either do something or you don't. And we just have many struggles with that, and it really does suck. And it's a shame that we just can't express our emotions or our feelings, or yeah, we can't do that because that's shown as weakness, or that it's not a big deal and that we're just overreacting or we're just being dramatic. And if we do happen to like express our feelings or our emotions, then we always come across as being rude, being ungrateful, being disrespectful to our parents. That's not right. It's basically teaching us that our feelings are not valid. And once again, we just hide those feelings. And eventually, those feelings would just bottle up, and it would just pile up and up and up. And it's gonna suck, it's gonna hurt. And it will affect you in the long run. in other relationships or other friendships or in work environments, in school environments. And take it from me where that exact same experience happened to me. And it's still currently happening to me right now. But I can say I am a lot more self-aware about it since I've grown a lot and I've matured a lot and I've taken therapy. So yes, being self-aware really does help. I just don't understand why Hispanic culture is like that. Why must we live in a household or live with family who treat us that way? Like, you guys are our family. You guys should be actually treating us a lot differently. You guys should be treating us like our feelings do matter, like our feelings are valid. And yes, we understand that you have done so much to provide for us, but don't forget that we're struggling too. And when your kids are asking for your help, listen to them. You don't want your kids to feel alone. You don't want your kids to fall into depression or anxiety or, I mean, why wouldn't you want to care for your kids that way? Why wouldn't you want to be emotionally supportive to your kids? I know for a fact I would never want to treat my kids the way that I was treated growing up. That is one cycle that I'm definitely breaking apart because I will not be that parent to my kids. Growing up with parents who would constantly manipulate, lie, and were just emotionally abusive and verbally abusive to me, to their kids, and to each other was really hard on me. And now seeing that slowly change in the past few years is so weird. Because I grew up with this really toxic household where no one would ever talk it out. I went through so much childhood trauma that I don't even think my other siblings have gone through because they were either just a lot younger than me or they just weren't at the house because they had already moved out. But I, on the other hand, did experience different traumas than any of my siblings did. And yeah, because I went through all that trauma, now my parents or yeah, like my parents in general are trying and they're kind of like slowly changing their behaviors, but somehow I just can't keep up with that. I'm just so used to the old them. I'm so used to the old us. And it sucks that I'm so used to it and that now I have to adapt to this new version of this family. It's very uncomfortable and it's really weird to me. Like I just don't it's super unfamiliar to me. So I just don't know how to react and it's just yeah, it's I just don't know how to react to it and it just really sucks. And I know I say that it sucks a lot, but it really does suck when you have no idea what to do in a situation like this. Like, I want to adapt with these new changes as well with them, but at the same time, I simply can't because I just don't adapt that easily like they do. Or because it was just like a sudden shock. It was just unexpected and I just don't know how to like respond to it. Or because I'm just still so used to the old version of our family and I just can't seem to move on from that. Probably because I never had that support from like back then and I still cannot seem to have the support now. So it's just a lot of things that have been racing on my mind about that. And that's when, like, like getting so used to toxic behaviors gets to you. That's literally what it does to you. Another thing is that a lot of the times when you most likely don't have support from parents nor siblings, sometimes you may not even have support from tias, tios, or primas because A part of a toxic Hispanic family is that for some reason, everybody stops talking to each other over the dumbest fights or disagreements. Family members talking down to each other or only being happy for certain people. No one wants to get together on holidays because certain people don't talk to each other anymore or they can't stand to see them. It's sad seeing other families getting along and loving each other when you have a family who's literally the complete opposite of that. And unfortunately, I also had experienced that. And yeah, I don't know. I felt like it's so sad to see like happy. It's great to see families get together and have like anasadas or barbecues or family reunions and they all just get along. But why is it that other families just hate on each other? Why must we all hate on each other? I just don't understand that. If the tias are over here just arguing with each other and never speaking to each other again, why are you doing that? You're literally just setting an example to your kids, showing them that it's okay to cut off like family like that over some silly argument. And I used to think that it's okay to cut people off over a silly argument. And I'm not talking about just in family in general. I'm talking about everywhere. I can cut off friends, I can cut off relationships, just about anybody over some little disagreement or argument. And that affected me so much. It made me lose a lot of friends. It made me lose a lot of, it made me experience a lot of breakups. My social life just went downhill. And when I noticed those patterns, the reason why I would do that is because I grew up seeing that. So you get what I'm saying? Kids are always watching. I was a kid and I was watching all of that unfold. Are you really gonna want to be a part of a family that does that? And then your kids or yourself, you're just watching all of that unfold? No, that is not a safe space. Definitely not. And your family should be the number one safe space for you. It should definitely be that safe space. It should be your home. Unfortunately, in a lot of Mexican families, it's not always like that. And it always has to do a lot with jealousy. Someone always has it better than someone else and they just can't stand each other, and then once one family member gets into it, another one has to get into it as well, and then another one and then another one, and it just becomes a whole big mess. And next thing you know it, you're not talking to those family members anymore, and it sucks. I know we've talked a lot about the negativities of toxic households. I am here to tell you that if you're currently going through some toxic family members or a toxic behavior from a mom or from a dad or just a sibling, I'm here to tell you to hang in there. Eventually, you know that you don't deserve to be in that toxic space. And just by being self aware of that, eventually you will receive the safe space that you do deserve, even if it's not with that family anymore. And sometimes that's okay. Sometimes it's okay to leave behind that household. Sometimes it's okay for you to be on your own or for you to move on with starting your own family. A few things to help you heal from a toxic household is to give yourself time to mourn. We all want a family that's supportive, loving, and kind, but unfortunately, not everybody can have that. And that's okay. Accepting that fact is one step to healing. Another is set boundaries, set limits, make toxic family members aware in advance of what topics you do not want to discuss. And if they say something, then just let them be, let them say what they gotta say. But if you don't want to talk about something, there's a topic you really do not want to discuss, then that's okay. You don't have to discuss it, and it's their problem. If they have a problem with it, then that's their problem. You set those boundaries, and you stick to those limits and to those boundaries. Another is to work on your self-esteem. So do some self-care, I would say. Like I said earlier, try to bring in your inner Nina. Try to welcome her back into your life. How would you do that? What does that look like? Would you go get a happy meal? Would you go to places where you would go all the time when you were a kid? Or would you watch your favorite movies that you would watch when you were a kid? What does that look like to you? Bringing your inner child back in could help with your self esteem or just a little bit of self care. Also, separation and just being your individual self, separating from certain toxic family members. So, if that means you have to cut off some family, then that's totally okay. If that means that you have to move out, then that's okay too. If you still happen to run into a toxic family member during family reunions, Christmas, holidays, birthday parties, then what I would do is I would not interact with that family member. Maybe I would say hello, but I would 100% not interact with them because it's just not worth my time. I do not want to feel how they make me feel. I don't want to feel shut down. I don't want to feel some type of way, so I'm just not going to interact with them. And that's okay. And if some family members can't understand that, then like I said, that's their problem. And then the day you're just doing what you got to do. You just have to think about yourself. You have to put your own needs first before anyone else's. I am grateful to have my family, to have parents, to have a home. It's gonna take some getting used to with the new relationship with the new changes around my home, my household, around my family. And I'm taking it step by step, but it's definitely a challenge, and yeah, like I am up for it. I am doing this for my inner Nina. So think about it like that. Do it for your inner Nina. Do it for her. I'm doing it for little Melly so that way she can have that closure that she deserves. So that way she feels like she has support, or that she at least knows that I tried, that she tried. So do it for your inner child. Do it for her. And then in the day, I just want all of you to be your best versions of yourself. I want all of you to live in your safe space comfortably. I want you all to blossom into your beautiful selves and to break those cycles. I'm sending you all love and light into this journey that you are embarking, your healing journey. And I'm just so happy that you guys are here and listening to this podcast. I really hope this inspired you guys into at least putting yourselves out there when it comes to family members and just setting some boundaries. Okay, everyone, that is it for today's episode. Thank you so much for listening. Follow me on Instagram, follow me on TikTok, Sincerely Latina, and I will see you guys on the next one. Bye bye.